So you know student, the CNS is highly protected and safely secured in the cranial cavity, and this security enhanced by the three meninges and the fluid layers between them. So the brain is almost floats into that the CSF, and CSF form a watery cushions around that the blood vessels and around the blood vessels to give the shock free atmosphere to that the vital centers of the brain. So let's see that is the spaces which is present into that the meninges. So first, that is the extradural space or the epidural space. So epidural space, it is the potential space which is lies between the inner aspect of the skull bone and the endosteal layer of the dura mater. So you know that is the endosteal layer of the dura mater. So here in this diagram you can see that is the inner surface of the brain, and that is the periosteal or the endothelial layer of the meninges or the dura mater. So between this, that the gap is present, this gap, the small gap, so it is called the epidural space. Then the next is the subdural space. So subdural space, it is the space which is lies between the dura mater and the arachnoid mater. So here outer layer, that is the dura mater meningeal layer, and this is the arachnoid mater. So between these, that this space is present. Here you can see this. It is called the subdural space, and this actually space for the pathological condition, and the subdural space travels by the cerebral veins on their path for draining into that the dural venous sinuses. So here you can see that is the arachnoid granulations and the villi that should be present into that the superior sagittal sinus. So here you can see. So here that is the subdural space. Then the subarachnoid space or the arachnoid space. So it is the space which is lies between the arachnoid mater and the pie mater, which surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. So this one here you can see that the arrows are seen in this region. So that is the subarachnoid space or the arachnoid space. Okay? And it ends below the lower border of the second sacral vertebra. It consists of the CSF and the large vessels of the brain. The cranial nerves passes through this space. The large arteries lie in the subarachnoid space of the brain. Okay? So that is the subarachnoid space. After then we should have to see that is the cisterna of the brain. So cisterna means that is the enlargement of the subarachnoid space in a certain situations around the brain. So that is called the cisterna. So at the base of the brain and around the brainstem, the subarachnoid space forms a intercommunicating pools which reinforce the protective effect of the CSF on the vital centers of the medulla oblongata and the other parts of the brain. So it is act as a water bed cushion to that the vital centers of the brain. So that is called the cisterna. So there are several cisternas are present in proportion for the protection of that is the vital centers of the brain. So here you know that is the vital center is present on the medulla oblongata. Here that is the pituitary gland is present. Posteriorly here that is the vital centers are present. So these are protected by the large space of the subarachnoid space, which consists of the large amount of the CSF, and because of the presence of the CSF, it forming the cushion bed protection. So the first cisterna, that is called the cerebellomedullary cisterna. As the name suggests, cerebellomedullary means that should be related with the cerebellum. Here you can see, and this is the medulla oblongata. So these two parts of the brain that is related with that this cisterna. So it is called the cerebellomedullary cisterna. So it is the largest cisterna present into that the subarachnoid space. So that is also called the cisterna magna. So here you can see that is the cisterna magna or the cerebellomedullary cisterna, this one. Okay? So it is the largest cisterna formed by the bridging the interval between the medulla oblongata and inferior surface of the cerebellum. So here you can see the inferior surface of the cerebellum, and this is the medulla oblongata. It is a triangular in shape and it carrying accessible needle introduced antero-superiorly through the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. So here you can pierce that the needle into this region from the atlanto-occipital membrane between the posterior arch of the atlas and the posterior margin of the foramen magnum. So throughout this you can enter into that the cisterna magna or the cerebellomedullary cisterna. Then second one, that is the cisterna pontis. So as the name suggests, cisterna pontis means that is related with the pons. So here you can see this is the pons and the cisterna is present here. So that is called the cisterna pontis. So it is a extensive subarachnoid space on a ventral surface of the pons and contains a basilar artery and its branches. It is continuating below with the subarachnoid space of the spinal cord. So here you can see that is the subarachnoid space of the spinal cord, this one. So this is cisterna pontis. After then we should have to see that is the interpeduncular cisterna. So here this is the interpeduncular cisterna, this one. So it is formed by the arachnoid matter bridging across the two temporal lobes on the inferior aspect of the brain, and it consists of the circle of Willis. So here that is the circle of Willis is present, and around that the pituitary gland, here that is this cisterna is present. So it is continuous laterally with the subarachnoid space surrounding the middle and the posterior cerebral arteries, and anteriorly with the subarachnoid space around the anterior cerebral artery. So here that is the anterior cerebral artery is present. After then that is this cisterna of lateral sulcus. So the cisterna of lateral sulcus, it is present into this region. So it lies in front of the temporal pole and it is formed by the arachnoid matter bridging the lateral sulcus and consists of the middle cerebral artery. So as the name suggests, cisterna of lateral sulcus. So you know that is the brain consists of, that is the two lateral sulcus which attach to the parietal lobe and the temporal lobe. So between these that the cisterna is present, so that is called the lateral cisterna. After then the cisterna of the great cerebral vein. So here in this diagram you can see the cisterna of great cerebral vein, this one. This cisterna that is also called the cisterna ambiens. So this region. So the cisterna of great cerebral vein occupies the interval between the splenium of corpus callosum. So here you can see that is the splenium of corpus callosum and the superior surface of the cerebellum. So this is the superior surface of cerebellum, this one. So between this that is the splenium and this is the superior surface of the cerebellum. So between this that the cisterna is present. So it is called cisterna ambiens. This cisterna contains a great cerebral vein. So that is called the cisterna of great cerebral vein. So it consists of great cerebral vein of Galen and the pineal gland. You know this is the pineal gland, this one. So that should be also in related with that the cisterna. And it is widely used a neurological landmark. After then the last cisterna, that is the lumbar cisterna. So here you can see this one, the lumbar cisterna. So this So it is the large subarachnoid space present in the lumbar region of the vertebral column and distal to the termination of the spinal cord. So here you can see that is the spinal cord that should be terminate into that the conus medullaris. So below to it and around to it that the cisterna is present, it is called the lumbar cisterna. The lumbar puncture is done to obtain the CSF into this cisterna. So that is the important space for the clinical purpose. So whenever you want to drain the CSF and to test that the CSF for the pathological condition, so in that condition, that is the safe place is for puncture, that is the lumbar puncture is done throughout this cisterna, that is called the lumbar cisterna. And during the lower abdominal surgery and the lower limb surgery, that is the lumbar spinal anesthesia, that should be also given into this region. So that is the lumbar cisterna. So after then we should have to see that is the clinical or the applied anatomy related with that the meninges. So that is, you know, the CSF that should be present into that the subarachnoid space, and here that is the circulation of the CSF that should be occurs. So this circulation of the CSF that should be occurs due to presence of the arteries into that the CSF. You know, the arteries continuously occurs the pulsation, and because of the pulsation it should be occurs the CSF circulation, and with that is the CSF which is continuously formed into that the ventricular system, and it should be goes into that the circulation. So the extra CSF that should be drained into that the dural venous sinuses through that is the arachnoid granulations and the arachnoid villi. So that the drainage of the CSF that is also occurs due to the pulsation of the arteries present into that the subarachnoid space. So that is the important clinical point related with that the meninges. Second one, that is the hydrocephalus. So hydrocephalus, it is the abnormal increase of the volume of CSF within the brain, and there are the two types of or the two varieties of the hydrocephalus that should be occurs. One is that is the non-communicating, and second one that is the communicating. So you know, hydrocephalus means that is the increase the capacity of the CSF present into that the subarachnoid space and the ventricular system. So total capacity averagely near about 150 ml into that the subarachnoid space and the ventricular system. So because of any condition that maybe occurs the blockage into that the any cisterna or any space of the ventricular system, it can stops the drainage of that the CSF, and because of the CSF quantity that should be increases. So that clinical condition, it is called the hydrocephalus. Third clinical point, that is the meningocele. So meningocele, in this diagram you can see that is, it is the congenital abnormality which is present after the birth, that is the meninges that should be comes out throughout that is the spine. And here with that the meninges, that is the part of the spinal cord that should be also comes in throughout that the vertebral column, and that should be mostly present into that the lumbar region. So here, and externally it is seen as the cyst like structure, rounded cyst like structure. So this clinical condition, it is called the meningocele. So the next clinical condition, that is the papilloedema. So you know, edema means that is the inflammation. So the subarachnoid space ascends the extending along the optic nerve. So here you can see that is the orbit, here that is the eyeball, and this is the optic nerve. So that is the subarachnoid space that should be also extending along that the optic nerve till the back of the eyeball. So here you can see that is the subarachnoid space. So increase the CSF pressure, it compromises the posterior wall of the retina of the eyeball. So if that the fluid is increases, so that should be pressurized on the posterior wall of the retina of the eyeball. And because of that is the bulging of the optic disc, and the edema of that the disc should be occur. So here that is the optic disc is present. So here that is the edema of the optic disc that should be occur, and this edema into that the optic disc, it is called the papilloedema, and it can be viewed by the ophthalmoscope. So whenever anteriorly you can see with the ophthalmoscope into that the inner part of the eyeball, so you can see that is the inflammation should be occurs into that the optic disc. So that is the papilloedema. Then the next is the lumbar puncture. So here in this diagram you can see that is the lumbar puncture. So for the purpose of the extraction of the CSF from the ventricular system, so the safe space, it is from the in between the L3 and L4 vertebra. That is the needle should be inserted, and here you can that is the spinal cord length, it is near about L1 vertebra. So here that is the subarachnoid space that consists of the CSF. So you can easily insert the needle in between the L3 and L4 vertebra, and you can extract the CSF for any pathological condition or for giving the lumbar anesthesia in the surgeries of the lower limb and the lower part of the abdominal surgeries. So that is the lumbar puncture. After then we should have to see that is the lumbar epidural puncture. So the lumbar epidural puncture, here that is the lumbar puncture is done into that the subarachnoid space. But when the lumbar puncture is done into the epidural space, mean the space which is present between the dura mater and that is the vertebral layer, this one. So this space that is called the epidural space, and in that space if you can given the anesthetic drug, so it can only block the sensory impulses rather than the motor impulses. So this is done for the painless delivery. That type of anesthesia that is given for the painless delivery to reduce the pain during the parturition, but female is able to give the strength to dilate the pelvic muscles and dilate the pelvic organ and the vagina for expulsion of the fetus or the newborn baby. So these are the clinical condition which is related with the meninges and the CSF.